What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much for joining us back here on the channel. If you're new here, feel free to go back and check out some of the older videos. I'm sort of in the process of getting this channel kind of up and started again, but we're going to continue this video with a new edition of the Nightwish verse. I really like this idea, this sort of new genre that we're kind of doing on here. We did have a pretty positive, response in the comment section. We had some haters as well, but it's all fine and well. And I just want to say, as far as this Nightwish series that we're going to be doing, I want all the Nightwish fans to feel safe in here. Not all of us are going to agree 100% of the time. And also, just as a disclaimer, there's nothing I can say about Nightwish that will ever take away from how great they are, how, awesome of a band they are. But everybody's got their own opinions, right? So that's kind of what we're addressing with this Nightwish series, and I think I'm bringing up a lot of questions that fans are, having. A lot of fans are having the similar questions, similar ideas, but perhaps it's never been presented in this manner. So I hope I can kind of offer something new. So the previous Nightwish video was titled "What Happened to Nightwish." So this video, I thought we could create a video called "What Will Happen to Nightwish." We're going to kind of start with the trajectory of the public statement they wrote about their album, as well as their sort of the process. They're going to be slowing down their tour schedule and stuff like that. So we will sort of explore that right here. Let me just change this camera scene here on my software. Hopefully this looks good. So this was posted on April 6th, 2023. Most Nightwish fans already read this. It says Nightwish new album coming out 2024. But let's unpack the actual statement a little bit, and we're going to kind of speculate and just sort of shoot some ideas back and forth about what direction they might go. What's the album going to sound like? Who's going to be doing vocals? What's the production going to be like? Stuff like that. So it says here, Nightwish new album coming out in 2024. As the Human Nature World Tour is drawing to a close, we feel now it is time to tell you of our plans for the next phase in our journey. After the planned shows for June 2023, we will be hanging up our spurs for an intermediate time as far as live concert performances go, and won't be touring the next album. So it says right here, and we won't be touring the next album. And a lot of fans reacted negatively to this, but I think what's really great about this statement, I'm going to lower my chair just a little bit. I think what's really great about this statement is that Nightwish seems to be kind of learning their lesson, hopefully, about this excessive tour schedule that they've been on since God knows when. And it goes on to say the reasons for this decision are personal, but we all agree vital to the well-being and future of the band. Vital to the well-being and future of the band. Be assured that we still love working together, and this decision has nothing to do with Floor's pregnancy or our other individual projects. So I'm not sure why they felt the need to put that in there. Maybe they just, don't want fans thinking that it's because Floor's pregnant, right? And that brings to the forefront some of the other issues that have been suffering in the Nightwish camp over the past several years has been Floor's health. She was diagnosed with cancer, I believe, and I think she's in remission now or something. But she hasn't been all that healthy, but despite that, she gets up on stage and just really rocks out, which is great. I mean, she doesn't, complain about her health or anything like that. So she's definitely like a beast. She's like a warrior as far as that goes. But they've canceled some shows. They canceled the show in Oslo, I believe, because of Floor's health. Now, some of Floor's health, concerns were related to her pregnancy, but they were also related to the cancer. And I also think the excessive touring, again, is sort of bringing to the forefront some issues. I think Nightwish is very well aware of that. They're not spring chickens anymore, right? And it goes on to say here, however, an album of 12 new songs will see bright daylight in 2024, as will 3 music videos. So that should be pretty cool. The band is positively hyped beyond words over this new upcoming musical adventure. Stay tuned for updates from our legendary Nightwish Bandcamp and studio this summer. So that should be pretty interesting. So far, we haven't seen much from the Nightwish Bandcamp. Usually they hang out all summer and they sort of arrange the songs and they come up with ideas, sort of finalize the songs, and then they've been recording. This was published, quite some time ago, maybe 6 months ago now, maybe a little more, April of 2023. But what will this album actually sound like? That's anyone's guess. But there is another statement somewhere here. I'm not sure where it went, but maybe it was taken from an interview or something. But Tuomas Jalapenian said something to the effect of that this new album is going to sort of continue in the vein of Endless Forms, Most Beautiful, as well as Human Nature, and it's going to kind of be the prequel, so to speak, of this whole sort of new lyrical direction, this new theme about evolution and, I guess you could say space and the cosmos and all that kind of stuff with some new things thrown in there. Let's see a little bit what Tuomas says about that. 'Cause there are some interesting quotes. A little article from Metal Injection right here. Nightwish is working on a pretty heavy follow-up to their 2020 Human Nature album. According to Nightwish vocalist Floor Jansen in an interview with Metal Hammer, the heaviness is only one aspect of the new music, but it's certainly there. I would say it's a pretty heavy album, but once again, it's the multicolored diversity that is Nightwish. Multicolored diversity that is Nightwish. It's all there. It's going to be, once again, take you by the hand through beautiful stories, whether they are stories from this earth or stories about this earth. They're beautiful. Of course, the good news here is that Jansen is doing well enough to put on both a Nightwish record and a solo record. Jansen was diagnosed with breast cancer in October 2022, and after a tumor removal surgery has been declared cancer-free. So we talked a little bit about that. I believe she's cancer-free or in remission. I think cancer-free is a different thing. Remission means that you still kind of have the cancer or something, but it's not malignant, perhaps. Surgery took everything cancerous out, and it hasn't spread. Let's see here. Main songwriter Tuomas Jalapenian said the new record will feature some major surprises, and is the end of the trilogy. Thank God. I'm just kidding. You guys know I'm more of a fan of the older style of Nightwish, but I am looking forward to this new edition. What's it going to be like? I immediately knew after getting Endless Forms Most Beautiful done that, okay, we have to do more songs about this because there's so much more to explore and tell the world. We're not done with this. I'm sure you're not, Tuomas. And the same thing happened after Human Nature. We're still not done. So let's do one more, at least one more. Now, what does he mean by that? One more Darwinian science space album, or does he just mean one more album in general? I think a lot of fans like myself are kind of reading into that, trying to figure out what that actually means. It's a third part of the trilogy. Let's see here. He said do one more, at least one more. In a way, the next album is the third part of a trilogy, which started with Endless Forms. There are some major surprises, but it feels like a natural continuation of Human Nature. So the Nightwish is yet to let go of this sort of new thematic lyrical endeavor that they're trying to do. And maybe after this album, whatever it's going to be called, things will maybe calm down, and maybe eventually they might go back to an older type of style, perhaps musically or lyrically. But I don't want to say anything bad about the album yet because I haven't heard anything about it. Jalapenian continues saying, the wonderful thing is that we have had the demo of the album done since last spring, so it's been done for 6 months now. We really have all the time in the world to go through it all, and we have had such a great time with the band just listening to the demo in our hotel rooms. Me singing the lyrics and the melodies to Floor Jansen. She's recording them, and then she's seeing them and throwing ideas to each other. So that's an interesting sort of little inside peek on what the album may sound like. But I think obviously Marco's no longer in the picture, and that's been that way for some time since their last, since they finished their most recent tour schedule over the last 3 or 4 years. Marco's out of the picture, and I have heard some some concerns from fans. Not all fans, but a lot of fans feel like they're lacking something on stage. Now, it's one thing to see a YouTube video, right, of a live performance. Cat's acting up again here. So we're it's one thing to see a live performance and kind of make judgments on YouTube. And I would say that, perhaps seeing Nightwish now live in person would, that would be the best way to really figure out what the stage presence is actually like. What do they sound like on stage now compared to the previous years? But I will say that, I guess you can sort of get an idea of the stage presence or the lack of stage presence or the musical direction from a YouTube video, but I think it's maybe a little unfair to jump to conclusions based on a video performance versus actually being there, at the actual concert, because they are two different things. But I've heard some fans say that they don't move around as much on stage, or, they're lifeless and all this stuff. And I don't know if that's necessarily a fair assessment, but, I sort of brought up some of those concerns myself in my previous Nightwish video, just talking about how their stage presence as a whole is definitely different, and in my opinion, it's been affected by all the lineup changes. Now, before I interrupt myself, we talked about how obviously Marco, Hatalia or Hayetala is no longer in the band, and so that is going to change the trajectory of the live vocal sound, obviously. And I would assume that Troy Donackley is going to maybe do more singing, which I'm kind of up in the air about. Like, I'm open to it. Like, he's a decent singer, but I wasn't, like, super thrilled with the songs he was featured on, like Harvest from, the Human Nature album. And, but maybe they'll do something really interesting with Floor and Troy Donackley, and maybe, the Yuka, the new bass player, might do vocals. I don't know. I'm sure he's capable of doing some heavy vocals, perhaps, maybe from his time in Winterson. Hell, maybe even Kai Hatto and Empu Viorninen will do some vocals too. That would be really cool. But there is a change of not only stage presence but also musical direction from Nightwish. And I think that's pretty plain as day. And that's just something we have to kind of accept. But what will this album actually sound like? Just in general, on the first point, but also, number two, what is it going to sound like without Marco and without, this will be the first album without Marco's voice that everybody knows. So I do think they're going to have to come up with something really cool, really special. And whoever is doing the vocals, it's going to have to be pretty damn good. And, obviously there's going to be no issues on the vocal front because they've still got Floor Jansen and they've got Troy. Maybe he can do something kind of interesting. He's obviously not Marco. And that kind of brings me to my last point that I want to make in this video. The last video was like, an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. So I think I'll try to keep this one a little more concise. But stick around on this channel, guys, because I do have tons of more videos about Nightwish that I plan on making. And I hope I'm offering sort of an interesting genre for Nightwish fans by doing this series. So we talked about Marco leaving and, Troy's going to be out of the band. And so what was it that I wanted to sort of address on that front? It kind of just slipped away from me. But I would say that, a lot of us are used to Marco's vocals, perhaps, and we're used to that sort of operatic, the masculinity aspect that's in Nightwish that sort of balances itself so well with the female vocals. But I think what we could expect is that we're going to maybe it's going to be more like the old school Nightwish before they had any male vocals. And that, and they've always kind of featured some male vocals as far back as, they've been doing male vocals since, Angels Fall First, where Tuomas was doing songs like The Carpenter and Beauty and the Beast and stuff like that. And then we had, by the time we got to Oceanborn, obviously we had the guy from Sana Arctica doing a lot of vocals. Let's just check what his name is. I'm just curious. Because his name is on Tony Kako, I think his name is. I'm probably mispronouncing his last name. Let me see if they have a little thing here. Sometimes on they'll have like a little translation here where you can listen to how to pronounce his name, but I'm not going to get into that now. But anyway, so it's just it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to sound like without Marco. And the band, like I said, is you know, I wouldn't say they're moving. Like obviously, most of the fans are used to this new endeavor that's sort of taking place. They're working more on sort of all three of them are singing. Like Troy and well, that's how they did it on the previous album. Like Marco and Flora and Troy sort of all combined vocals. And I think that was interesting, but I think something was lost in the fact that sometimes you couldn't really hear who was singing per se because they were doing a lot of harmonies. And of course, you had that one song that featured Marco called Endlessness. And then I think the majority, and we had maybe a song or two where Troy was, kind of featured. And then we had most of the other songs were covered by Floor, obviously. But it's going to be interesting to see. It sounds like the album's going to be heavy. And I remember they said that about Human Nature too, and it was pretty heavy, but some fans I think were, for some reason, when they released the cover art for Human Nature, a lot of the fans were, for some reason, expecting this really dark album or something, like they were going to make like a Nightwish black metal album or something, and that didn't really quite happen. The album actually was a lot more uplifting and a lot more, maybe positive, full of more positive energy than I think some fans suspected. And then Tuomas wrote the song called Noise, that was sort of a critique of modern society being addicted to social media, being on their phones all the time. And then, the fans started to speculate that they were sort of going in this nihilistic direction. And then two of us kind of came out and said, no, that's not, some people are reading way too far into this song, into my lyrics. All the guys all the people in Nightwish, we love our cell phones. We're not anti-cell phone or anti-social media. But, obviously there's a lot of underlying themes there with because Tuomas is not on social media of any kind. I would say Floor and Marco and some of the other guys are pretty active on social media, but you will not catch Empu or, Yuka Navalanian or Tuomas Jalapenian on Instagram or anything like that. It's just, I don't think. Maybe someday Tuomas will open up an Instagram account. That would be pretty cool. But, and I think that's interesting about Nightwish is like they're active enough on social media, whether it's their website or their band Instagram, and some of the other band members like Floor and Kai occasionally will post stuff on social media. So they still have a little bit of that mystery. They're not like overexposing themselves on social media and stuff, but they can meet the expectations of social media just enough to sort of keep things interesting, keep a little bit of hype. And I think we'll kind of close out this video because I think I did kind of forget that last thought that I wanted to explore, but we kind of covered what their new album might sound like lyrically, vocally. Is it going to be more folk metal driven, or like, that definitely seems to be a thing. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, let me check the instrument that Troy Donackley actually plays. His use of a traditional Celtic instrument. What is that instrument called? Let's see here. Troy Donackley. Let's see what that instrument is that he actually plays. Uilleann pipes. But he also plays other instruments too, and he has been featured, I think, on acoustic guitars and stuff like that on Nightwish albums. So he's very capable. But like I said, he definitely changed, not only the musical direction. I wouldn't say he changed the musical direction because Tuomas obviously wanted to add more elements of the Uilleann pipes and the sort of the Celtic sound. That was always kind of a thing in Nightwish, right? But they never really had a consistent person to do that for him. But he did obviously change the lyrical direction. And I did want to pull up a comment from the previous video that I made about Nightwish here, right? It's actually right here. One of the most recent comments here is pretty interesting. Okay, except for the fact that Marco is gone, who I miss greatly, I think the current lineup is the best by far. I don't know if I agree with that, but I knew of Nightwish from my youth and liked them, but when Floor entered the stage, I think it all came together, in my opinion. I think she is on another level than most, and not only previous singers, but in all music. I agree, all the Darwinian lyrical direction, by the way. I agree on the Darwinian lyrical direction. I don't know if he means by he agrees with me or he agrees with the lyrics. Okay, he says here, more of a fan of the older lyrics, and I am pretty sure Troy is the main influence on Two of Us in that regard. I think their music is as good as ever, though. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was sort of getting at in this video that we made. And I'm open to the idea of bands changing. I'm not trying to halt the creative progress of any band, but I think, and we'll kind of explore this in future Nightwish videos. But I do think something was lost when all of a sudden the sort of the lyrical content shifted fairly dramatically, and I think it has a lot to do with Troy Donockley's creative influence for better or worse. But we'll kind of leave this video at that. Let me know what you guys think about this. Are you guys excited for the new Nightwish album? Are you guys not as excited? Do you think it's going to be just a rehashed version of Human Nature? Okay, so I finally remembered what I wanted to say, and it's almost the end of the video now. But there's one thing that I was really curious about, and we'll go to a picture of their newest lineup here. That's not the greatest picture, but let's see if we can find a better one here. Go to the. Oh, actually, that's a good picture right there. We'll just go back to that for a second. So this is. I forgot to ask this question, but I want to ask the audience this, because it's something that's been kind of going through my mind for some time, ever since they hired Yuka here, this new Yuka, not the original Yuka, but I've always been curious why, number one, why they never really held auditions for band members, particularly even after Annette left the band. That's a whole nother story, but Floor kind of came in as a fill-in, but the way that things kind of played out, it makes you think maybe she was not hired as a fill-in and they had every intention of kind of bringing her onto the band, because after the tour was over, they never even bothered to hold auditions or anything like that. Maybe they just didn't want to go through the trouble, or maybe they knew that they wanted Floor, right? But by the time we got to the departure of Marco Hietala, and this new guy Yuka from Winter Sun was again kind of brought in on tour as a fill-in, but by the time the tour was over, they had already picked him. So, I don't know. I just think, for some reason, I'm wondering why Nightwish did not try to get a bass player that had vocals, maybe, or maybe a little more stage presence. Or, like I said, I haven't really seen this lineup live, so I'm not saying that they're not good live or he doesn't have stage presence. But from what I've seen, obviously he's no Marco, and I think Nightwish is obviously aware of that. And maybe they kind of did that purposely because they don't even want to try to replace Marco in terms of getting a male vocalist that can play bass and do all this kind of cool stuff. But I don't know. There was speculation that they were going to hire a whole slew of different people, and nobody really suspected, I think, that they were going to hire another Winter Sun member. Like I said, the band seems to be kind of slowly being enveloped by Winter Sun, and I don't know. I just think, and I'm open to it. I just think they should have held auditions for the like similar to what they did when they replaced Taudia back in the day. Why did they not just take 6 months or a year off and maybe really try to find the right member versus just kind of just picking somebody just because it was convenient maybe and the live shows were going well. So that's what I wanted to address that I forgot about. Please let me know in the comment section what you guys think about that. Should Nightwish have held auditions? Should they be holding auditions now, perhaps? And we will talk to you guys very soon. Let me know what you guys, your thoughts on the whole Nightwish verse stuff. Let me know what you guys think about their new album that's coming out, and we'll talk to you guys next time.